Thank you. Next, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. At this time, we will have approval of the main agenda.
Move that we approve the agenda.
Is there a second? I'll second. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, there's not a consent agenda tonight. There was an update to the agenda, so we're just approving the main agenda for tonight. It has been moved and seconded that we approve tonight's main agenda. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Are there any opposed? The ayes have it. At this time, we will have a public hearing on annexation resolution number 04-2023, Potomac Parcels, M-NCPPC and USA, 13th extension. This is a municipal annexation resolution to approve the annexation of certain tax-exempt real property located generally west of the present corporate limits of the town of Forest Heights, extending along, including and abutting the Capitol Beltway, I-95/I-495, and including park and other lands near and including the intersections of the Anacostia Freeway, I-295, and a segment thereof, and the Capitol Beltway extending to the District of Columbia line near the fast land of the state of Virginia, the Woodrow Wilson Bridge area, Rosalie Island Peninsula, and the submerged lands of the Potomac River within the state of Maryland, comprising approximately 6 parcels, parcels 1, 2, 11, 29, 30, and 31, and certain rights-of-way, waterways, and submerged lands containing 493.31 acres of land total, owned respectively by the United States of America, the state of Maryland, and the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, M-NCCPPC, as depicted on tax map 95, grid D4, as parcels 29, 30, and 31. Tax district and account numbers 12-1362607, 12-1362631, and 12-1362797. And on tax map 104, grid D2, as parcels 1, 2, and 11, tax district and account numbers 12-1331552 and 12-1313790 and 12-3652682 into the corporate territory of the town of Forest Heights, and generally all matters relating to said annexation. This resolution was initiated by the town council pursuant to subsection 4-403 of the local government article of Maryland's annotated code. Notice is hereby given by the mayor and council that it will hold a public hearing on said resolution and the said annexation therein proposed recommended for today, Wednesday, November 15th at 8 p.m. in the Forest Heights Municipal Building, Forest Heights, Maryland. At this time, is there any public period, or is there any public discussion or comment on this annexation resolution 04-2023? Is there anyone online who wishes to provide public comment on annexation resolution 04-2023? Okay. Madam Clerk, do we need to conduct any other business relating to this annexation resolution before we move on for the hearing?
No, sir, other than approving it at this time.
Okay. All right, well, at this time, that concludes the public hearing on annexation resolution number 04-2023. Next, we will have a presentation from the Prince George's County Department of the Environment. Good evening, ma'am. If you could just state your name for the audience, those here and for those online. Okay, and Miss Mary, could you just spell your last name? A-B-E. Thank you for being here, ma'am.
For the opportunity. I had a presentation, but I was told I should just open up the floor or actually just give you a brief introduction of why I'm here tonight. This is in relation to a proposal by Prince George's County Department of the Environment to plant 1,200 street trees at no cost to Forest Heights within the town of Brighton. This is part of an effort by the Department of the Environment to prepare us for climate change, but more importantly, this is about treating within the sub-watershed and in the Forest Heights area, which approximately 30% tree canopy. The rest of the county is a lot more trees, approximately 50. And so this is about trying to provide more shade, more canopy, temperature moderation. And this is really about environmental justice, about some places don't have enough trees, and with climate change, with heat and increasing precipitation, trees are going to play a major part of preparing for climate change. And so this is our beta project. We are the first municipality that we hope to work with. And after we work with Forest Heights, we hope this will set a trend so that we can treat the rest of the municipalities in Prince George's County. And so we're very pleased that we were even allowed the opportunity to present this to you and the opportunity to plant these trees. So we think this is the first step of many steps that we will have to take. Be prepared for climate change. It's coming, it's here, and trees are a part of the solution. So questions, basically our program would be, we would start our installation sometime in December. We would work through December into January and into February. And so that when the trees are in the ground, I guess you could say they would open up in the spring in a new home and start leafing out and growing. So questions?
Councilmember Noble.
What's the maturity level of the tree when you're planting it? Is it
It's I would call it a street size tree. It's called a 2 to 2.5 inch caliber tree. And so a shade tree that would be planted would be approximately anywhere from 10 to 14 feet in height. And a small understory ornamental tree might be about 6 to 7 feet in height, depends on the type of species. And so within about 15 years, you're talking about street trees that would be approximately 20 feet tall, 20 feet wide, to give you a canopy.
and they grow up or out?
They grow up and out and over the street to provide shade. When you go down the streets of Washington, D.C., some of the more beautiful areas of our city, it's street lawn and it's lined with trees. And that's what we're talking about doing, so that essentially you're creating a streetscape where the trees come in and basically they're kind of closing they're providing shade and cover.
Because I do know in DC, you know, like here, people have trucks and the tree, you know, the tree.
Councilmember Noble, is your mic on? It's okay.
I'm sorry. The people have trucks, you know, vehicles that are tall. And I guess my other concern is that our responsibility to maintain the trees.
After they are established, yes, it will be. But what I would say is the trees that are planted are already groomed to grow tall and have higher branching. And so it's about judicious pruning while they're getting while they're young and they start to grow. But eventually the benefits far outweigh any of the other issues because it does beautify. It's part of a climate action strategy, and it's really great stormwater management. So, and it's, so to speak, free, I guess you could say. Nothing is ever free, as we know, but
It's taxpayer money, but it will be an infusion into the town if it were to happen. Councilmember Brownson.
Thank you. My question is, I know it's gonna be in the public, the town right away. But the residents themselves, if they choose not to have them in front of their houses, is that an option with this grant?
yes, ma'am. I mean, I'm sure there's a way that we can work it. I believe that there will maybe be some flyers that will go out that a person can opt out. We're hoping that people do want to have the trees, but I certainly understand some people may not want the trees.
So before you start, if this goes through it, before you start in December, you will have contacted the residents to see if they want the trees in front of their houses.
I believe the plan was to put out flyers. Our problem is that we have a grant. This has been funded by a grant.
Mhm.
And so I have to deliver it by a certain period of time.
When is the period it needs to be delivered by, Miss?
The grant, the deliverable is due, February, March.
So you got time to survey the residents.
Not really, this is gonna take, I mean, I have time that I can survey the residents, but it's not door to door knocking. We could certainly do a flyer, we could put a notification on.
Council President McDonald.
Sound like that they would be in the front of people's houses. I'm sorry. It doesn't sound like the trees would be in front of people's houses. They would be planted throughout the town.
Yes,
Okay. So there is an option. I mean, the individual does not want the tree. It's not any pressure to get the trees.
no, it's different than if I were to go into their yard and put a tree in their yard, but this is the town's right of way. And so it is in front of the house, but it definitely frames the house on based on the utilities from these.
So my second question is, I hear what you're saying, they grow, so the branches are tall and they grow out from the top. So what is the maintenance for shedding? You know, when the
leaves.
For the leaves, yeah.
The leaves, it's like there's reasons to call forest heights, they're actually, even though you don't have as many, trees as we would like you to have, it's the same thing, the leaves are going to fall. Believe it or not, leaves are actually a wonderful thing to mulch with. All the time, everybody blows them away, and I call it liquid gold because you compost them, you put them in your garden. Because I'm a registered landscape architect, and I have to say that mulch is a residual income for the landscape industry. You really don't need it. You really want to use your leaves that fall from the trees. So as far as I'm concerned, it's actually, you could eventually have a situation where the town and the trees get big enough, you're collecting those trees and you could compost your own or have your own mulch for the town. I mean, it's self-perpetuating. It's a good thing. So what I would say is no matter what you do with any tree, it's going to shed, even in evergreen sheds.
Thank you.
Councilmember Noble, did you have a question? Okay. Councilmember Noble.
Yes. I guess not my question, but I guess it is a question. Have you gone around the town for a plan of planting the trees?
Yes. ma'am.
So you know where they could possibly go?
We've been working with the town manager, Mr. Khan.
Okay.
And there's been a team of us been out for the last several weeks, if you've met us. And we're actually doing something that's actually pretty cool. We're using a tree app. that has a very high, rate of accuracy, so we're actually plugging in, we're locating them as we're walking through the town. And then we've done a plan that landscape architects and others have looked at. So there's many different levels of supervision that the trees will go in. So yes, we have, and I have personally have walked a great deal of forest heights.
Okay, so we know where they will go.
Yes, and what will happen is once more utilities are marked, is there'll always be a little bit of the left or to the right, so that's why planting plans, they're more to quantify the number of trees. But just know that when the lateral lines in the house get marked, you know, it may show on the plan here, but may have to shift a little bit to the left or the right, so that we're not. Right. And so I just want to say that, and speaking of utilities, half of your streets are bisected by utilities. And so under those areas, we plant very small trees that are maybe gonna max out at about 15 feet in height.
Thank you.
Council President McDonald.
I just had one exciting question. And that is, share a little bit more about the contribution to environmental justice.
Well, in terms of environmental justice, I mean, the reality is if you go to other places that are not of color, there's more trees. And with more trees, there's better property value, there's less crime, there's less stormwater management that you have to deal with, because trees are stormwater management machines. They take the air, they take the rain, they fold it up, and they grow. They hold carbon and sequestration. And so from an environmental justice standpoint, your town and many of our municipalities dating back from how practices were done many, many years ago, didn't have trees. And so this is about making that right. This is about really turning it forward, because really, the other thing is that I live in Mount Rainier, Maryland. I'm a proud Prince George's County resident. We have our own problems with trees. We have utilities that are cutting through on trees. We planted trees. And that's a problem. When you
To look. And we'd like to look at 700. What happens in that case?
we actually have people that already want, like I could go to an HOA, but it's gonna take a lot more process. We have actually a couple of different communities who want the trees. Our whole point is that, one of the things that we're starting to do at DOE are blitz programs. So many times the county does really good work. It's empty. It's a little here, and it's a little there. This is about coming into your community and putting all our resources into it now. Not a little bit. Everything that we could for this grant, we chose to do it here. Because actually politically it would have been better if I gave it. So then you would have been like, oh, here's 100 trees. This is about really coming in and your community seeing a difference. These trees are being planted up and down your right of ways. This is really about you seeing a difference.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Thank you for coming out. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. I actually have a couple questions. Are we or are you taking in consideration the roots damaging sidewalk in the future?
I was told that there was no specific plans for sidewalks. If there are, we can adjust our locations so that if you believe your sidewalks are gonna be on the inside of the curb versus, you know, however your tree box area is, so we can certainly adjust that.
Well, I'm talking about the few places we actually do have curbs.
We, as a general rule, of any of the trees that we suggest are not gonna be ones that are gonna throttle a concrete sidewalk. I mean, things like silver maples, even though we have it on our list, that's only for a naturalized situation when you're in the woods. So this is about planting trees that are specifically good for right of way planting, and that's why I have a tree poster of what our program would plant. But not all of those trees would go in your right of way because they're not suitable for street tree planting for that very reason.
Can the trees be planted on like a hillside or a sloped area?
Yes.
Okay, because we have areas of opportunity that would probably that definitely would be in need of trees. We keep talking about right of way. Let's say a resident wants the tree on their property and not in the right of way. Is that an option?
Not at this time.
Okay.
We actually, our program is striving to do a residential program. If this had been a perfect world, the way I rolled this program out, I would have had a blitz with the residents. So that at the same time that I'm doing the right of way planning, I'm working with the residents to see if they want a tree in a yard, but there's a lot of right of access issues for us, the county coming in and putting a tree in someone's yard. We're working on that. So we hope to have that offered in maybe by the next year.
Thank you.
I just want to touch quickly on the sidewalk issue. There are places in town that don't have sidewalks that we would like to have them in the future. We haven't identified everywhere that those will be or that we'd like them to be, but it is a great question and a consideration. So if we have places we think trees will go or sidewalks will go and trees are slated to be planted there, how can we?
The sidewalks could be put in any number of ways. You have a tree box and then the sidewalk, and then the edge of the right of way, you have your sidewalk onto the curb area. It all depends on how you want to site it. So we could always take the more conservative approach and put it on as far to the outside of the right of way that you have, which allows you enough room to do whatever type of sidewalk that you want. It depends on the tightness of the area, but I'm happy to work with Mr. O'Connell on that to see what could work. And the other thing is too, so if it turns out, we have slated 1,200 trees. We were disappointed that we had to put a lot of understory trees in because of the telephone lines. I have no issue taking the ones that are going to go under the telephone line and dedicating those to the place that you want really to be treed up on a Arapahoe because you feel that you're really trying to reforest it. So it depends on what you're trying to do there.
Okay. Councilmember Kennedy.
So you printed out a nice poster size of quite a few trees.
Most of, I have warned Mr. that most of those are not going to be the trees that you get. There's a planting list. This was just a program list. I didn't, unfortunately, I had time to go and put a square around it. With the goals of our program are to plant thousands of trees a year. Now I'm going to be honest. That's what there's so much need in our municipalities, our HOAs, our churches. We need to ramp this program up. And so the way that we're going to be doing it's about availability. I don't know if you're aware that the state of Maryland has the 5 million tree challenge, and that there's a lot of funding out there to put over 5 million trees in the state of Maryland by 2030. And this is all part of the climate action. So trees are, you want to have a good small business, start growing trees because they're going like hotcakes and they're getting really expensive. So that's one of the things you think about it. State of Maryland's putting 5 million trees in the ground. Pennsylvania's putting millions of trees in the ground. There's not going to be a lot of trees. So in terms of the trade, so it's a matter of trying to get those trees in the ground while they're available, and then we have to grow them. But we have a whole, our goal is really to do whatever we can to get those trees in, because the minute they're in the ground, and they're being successful, they're gonna start growing. And one of the things that we're doing with this is we're using what's called a tree diaper. A tree diaper, it's different than a gator bag. It's like a round ring that's filled with a moisture, kind of a moisture absorbent. But what's really unique about it is when you put it around the tree and the mulch is over it, it can accept water from rain. And so essentially, once these rings are charged up, a tree can go without water for about 30 days, which cuts down on way down on the maintenance of the trees. Because now you have a situation where we're putting these reservoirs around these trees. So if it rains, trees already got that reservoir it's pulling from to grow. And because that's one of the biggest constraints with a lot of right-of-way things, they just don't get enough water. And so when you get a tree, you establish it, it's established by 1 to 2 years, the tree turns its roots out, and now it can accept water from the surrounding soils. And so that's why that establishment period is very important. And so we're going the extra mile to put these rings in around the tree to help reduce the maintenance and get these trees established.
Councilmember Kennedy.
A lot of the homes in town obviously are older. Are we also taking in consideration where the sewage lines and the water lines are?
We will have a marking done by this utility. So what happens is we always base on the main line. This is the other thing that I want to let you know. Because we did a tree app, we went through and we actually have tagged all your existing trees. And so you'll have a complete inventory of what's out there. And so with this app, we also went along and we also tagged where the fire hydrants are, and then where the sewer lines are. So it's pretty complete. Now, it's not a construction level, but we know where they are. And so then what happens is when we call this utility and it's marked, the lines, the lateral lines, as you're referring to, will be marked. And so the trees will be offset from those lines at least 5 feet, so they don't interfere. That's the standard offset.
And you said there is a proposed, well, there's a list that's showing which trees y'all plan on putting where?
Yes, there's plenty, but I want to stress that the trees that are on that, the trees that are on that list, we're gonna get, but it's not gonna be that exact total because it's about availability. If I say it's gonna be a red oak and I end up putting another type of oak in, that's probably what's gonna happen, because it's about getting these trees in and what's available. So we have a list and it's like first choice or second choice, but you, at the end, you will have a GIS app that you will look at, you'll know where the trees are. What we're really hoping, the big plan is, and this is why we thought First Heights was a great data project. We're hoping we can, if you don't have a green team, you have a green team, we can, or a tree commission, then we can engage folks to help with monitoring these trees with this tree. And so that way, they're not the county's trees. These are your trees. And this is about that. And really, so there's this whole system that we're hoping, because I gotta be honest, the county cannot do this alone and get ready for climate. This is gonna take the municipalities and the residents and everybody. It's all of us. So this is about that holistic. So that's kind of a big plan. That's our hope, that we're not gonna just plant the trees and bye.
Oh, Councilmember Little.
Good evening. I know it may vary per street, but do you know about how many trees per street there may be?
To be honest, we plan it as close as possible. Because we're trying to create canopy that's not impactful. It depends on the driveways, so it's really hard for me to say. I think maybe do a snapshot, because it really does vary, because if you have some driveways that are shared, like over by the duplexes, but you have single family, it's hard. But I would say almost at least every house has a tree in front of it.
About 20 trees per street.
Yeah, probably a lot.
Councilmember Hines?
If I'm not mistaken, we had that cannabis or that shade going down Seneca, and I don't know, but also, where I reside, the trees were taken up, they came and they asked, did we want our tree? And then they came and they, took it up. So is that something that would be or looked at again, where trees have been taken up from the,
I mean, if they've been removed.
Yes.
With new ones,
yes.
that would be our goal. I mean, if you wanted it, if there was a tree, we missed it. We also did identify some invasive trees that we aren't good, and so we may have some budget in there for removing that because these spaces are precious. That's the thing, when you're dealing in an urban environment where you're trying to plant trees, it's like threading a needle, because between utilities, driveways, intersections, existing trees, it really takes a lot of time. You would think you would have more trees than what we found, and the reality is the spaces are tight.
Councilmember Noble?
I appreciate you giving us more information about the upkeep of the tree and the reservoir and that kind of, because the reality in the town of Forest Heights, the right of way could be in front of, the right of way is in front of all of our homes, basically, and we are responsible for maintaining that part. So it's not just arbitrarily we make the decision to put it in the right of way, and it's, because the homeowner is maintaining it. So to know, because 20 years ago, we did have trees planted from Prince George's County, and some of them keeled over, and all of that, and had to be replaced. So knowing that something is there to kind of
It's a
generate
really
it.
good product, because again, a lot of times you see these things called gator bags, and those are, they don't do a lot of good. As a landscape architect, they're counterintuitive, because you gotta fill the bag for the tree to get water, but then they block the rain.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so you're either gonna be devoted to filling the bag every day, or you're not gonna use it. So these tree diapers in the town of Hyattsville, which actually has a wonderful tree canopy, and they're expanding, and they've been using that for some time with a great deal of success. They actually expanded their planting season into June and July, which is unusual. You usually do, and really you usually don't. And just to dispel some notions about the best time to plant trees, it's now through basically March, especially in our world now, because I grew up in the DC area, and I can't remember the last time we had a frost, a permafrost, and you dig in the ground, it's not a big dig. And this is when we're getting some nice cool rains and things like that, so good time.
Well, thank you, Miss Mary Abe. Thank you, Miss Abe, for presenting, for answering the questions. Council has so many questions because we know that we want to be sure with good that we look at past step 1, down step 2, 3, 4, 5, and down the years to see what the impact will be. So thank you for your presentation and for the county's interest in bringing tree canopy to 4 sites potentially. We appreciate your time. Thank you for being here. All right, at this time, we will have public period. If there is anyone in the auditorium who wishes to speak, you can provide public comment at this time. You will have 2 minutes to do so, and we'll ask that you give your name. Is there anyone in the auditorium this evening who wishes to speak?
Yes, sir. We have Mr. Hines.
Mr. Hines, good evening, sir. Mr. Hines, I'm just going to ask if you speak in that mic, just because we have folks watching online, just so they can hear everything you're saying. No problem, sir. No problem.
But I just want to thank the town for this wonderful meal. You know, a lot of times when my wife go out, she asks, how do you like the food? She's like, it's all right. That's my standard answer. But the food is very, very good, and I think. And also, I was wondering if anybody hears anything about turkeys, please let me know. Because people, part of my job last year was delivering turkeys, so a lot of people thought I was giving away turkeys. I made it very clear, this is the town, it's not me. But if anybody hears anything about people giving away turkey, I know people who are, were talking about it, would like to, you know, if they can do something. And I say that because a lot of us just take for granted, because you've never been deprived. You've never been hungry like that. And this is a very serious matter to all of these people. So just take that with heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak this evening, Madam Clerk?
Unless online, no one, unless online, Mayor, no one.
Is there anyone online who wishes to speak at this time? Please use that raise your hand function or send us a message in the chat or unmute yourself. Okay, we don't have anyone online at this time. Councilmember Kennedy, did you have something you wanted to add? Yes, no? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
How many turkeys are you looking for? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. At this time, we'll move into legislation. And for this evening, we have Resolution 86-23. This is a resolution to approve and grant permission to the Clean Water Partnership and its contractors and assigns to allow access and entry to municipal properties and rights of way within the town of Forest Heights in order to design, survey, locate utilities, test soil, locate and plant trees, and perform other duties in connection with installation and establishment of urban street trees. This is introduced by myself, Mayor Lilly. I move that we adopt Resolution 86-23.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 86-23. Is there discussion? Councilmember Kennedy.
I know everybody probably thinks we already beat this to death with all the questions we asked, but I would like to see something in there for people who might be adamant about not having a tree put in front of their house, because there are going to be a few. Hopefully there won't be a lot, but I just want to see some type of provision for that.
Mr. O'Connor, actually, Mr. O'Connor. I'll go to Mr. O'Connor, then I'll go to Chief Reese.
I think the chief and I are reading each other's minds because we had already established a process for the town side, since they're on a time where we'll be getting ahead of what they're doing with the residents on an opt-out before anything happens there. So we'll be able to keep everybody in the same loop. So they'll tell us where they're going to be. We'll be there before they're going to be there. We'll work with the residents and make sure that they're communicated. Plus, I believe we spoke about the newsletter, constant communication, and also getting it up on the boards.
Chief Reese.
Yes, I echo that. We also we're going to develop something hopefully by the end of the week, if this is approved, that we will try to go look at the map that it was provided and actually go in front of those homes where it's designated for trees and physically ask the homeowner.
All 950?
Absolutely.
All right, there you go. I like that. Good answer. Good answer.
Can we get that in writing?
It seems now,
No, he's
I
not. He didn't do it when he did the sidewalks over there.
I am a very optimistic person. What I've, tried knocking several hundred of the doors myself over a multi-week period. And I would just like, could you give me a little bit more meat about how that happens?
So, I don't think that's not a very hard thing. We've actually delivered, a newsletter to every home in the town of Forest Heights. We delivered flyers to every home in the town of Forest Heights, and that was on foot. And we did that relatively in 2 days.
Okay.
So once we get the document and then it's approved, we'll put the plan in action and get out there and door knock.
So what about for folks who are not home?
We will leave it there and they can have a way to contact the town during normal business hours. And we can have the administrative staff downstairs record those homes.
I'm thinking in the terms of maybe, is there some way we can leverage a survey or something where people can get their information to us, let us know? I'm just thinking about hiccups and things that will not blindside us, but just present barriers. Let me let staff answer on that, and then I'll get to council.
So, thinking of this now, I think we can do it a multitude of different ways. Once we can create that for some of our residents that are not they're not familiar with like the electronic devices, things like that, we can have a checkbox, and we can also create an electronic survey. And then what we have here, we have the administrative staff use all of the information that's coming in and create that I guess that database. And so we can make sure we already have a database of all of the homes. It's just a period of checking each home, maybe even using the voter registration database for each home and making sure that each one is checked off. So, but the biggest thing is just we can provide something online. Hey, use the survey, you want it or not, and then we also can have go to each resident. Now we're going to have some residents that's not going to communicate at all. But the town side, we did all we could do to communicate to the resident.
Thank you, Chief Reese. Council Member Noble.
I think for those of us who have walked the entire town, we know it can be done.
Yeah.
But that requires conversation and all the other things, so it takes a little bit more time. But I want to make sure that we do not have renters who approve of something that the owners do not have knowledge of. So you could go to a home that's a rental home, but we need to confirm, check, and I don't know what that process would be.
Councilmember Brownson.
Yeah, I just have a question about one of these wheres in this resolution. The wheres under the page 2, section 33-72. No.
Is it the second to last whereas?
Yes, it was talking about the charter section, whereas the one that talks about section 19.21, can't find it.
Section 19.21 is on page 3, second.
Right,
Further resolved.
Right. So this be it further resolved, the pursuant of 19.21 of the town charter hereby grants a waiver. And that's my question, from the strict application of said sections regarding street construction permits and improvement. So I went back to the charter on the section 19.21, and it says that it's long, But I was wondering about the health, safety, and welfare of the public shall prevail. But if we asking for a waiver for this resolution, then we're not taking into consideration the safety, welfare, and health of the public. So my point is that if we approve this resolution and waiving section 19.21, and a resident says, I didn't tell you to put a tree there, you didn't contact me, then you can go back to the resolution, say, well, we waive that, we waive that right.
Well, it's in the town's right away.
Right.
And what it's waiving is it's waiving the construction permits portion of what that code states. I don't believe it's waiving, taking into consideration the health and welfare
That's what it says.
of residents. I think it's waiving the construction permits. Mr. Best, can you provide some background on section 19.21 and the waiver that we're referring to in the resolution, sir?
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. I assume you can hear me.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, it's not the charter, it's the code of ordinances, section 19.21 is in Article 19 dealing with street construction permits. Whenever a public utility company or a communications company or even a private individual wants to break the pavement, break a curb, dig in the unimproved part of the right of way, they're required to get a street construction permit from the town. And since the partnership is doing this along with the county, they will be exempt as an agent for the town. So that's what the waiver is. You're right on the money there, Mr. Mayor. It's a waiver of the requirement to obtain a street construction permit from the folks that'll be planting the trees. I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Best.
So I guess the follow-up question, he says something about if you damage the driveway or whatever, somebody's property, are they exempt from being responsible for that?
I want to make sure I understand the question. You're saying that if we waive the requirement for a permit, who's responsible in the event of damage?
Right, correct.
Oh, Mr. Best, could you answer who's responsible in the event of damage with the waived permit for this type of a project, sir?
If the town, by digging in its own right of way, somehow damages property that, for example, a line that goes in to the house, then the town would be liable under perhaps under simple negligence theories. But the town right of way, including the unimproved portion, is owned by the town. The town doesn't need to really have a permission to go into the right of way. But if it does cause some sort of damage, the town would be liable, and a cause of action would arise in favor of the person's property or the person that's personally damaged by the town's action or the town's agent, which in this case is the partnership, the Clean Water Partnership. So yeah, the town would be responsible for any damage caused in the right of way that would spill over and cause a problem for the residents, for example.
Thank you, Mr. Best.
Sure.
Are there any other questions on resolution 86-23? Okay, hearing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir.
Before you do that, can I ask just one more question?
Sure.
So we were approving this, but is there what's the process? Are they gonna ask the people that chooses not to have the trees in front of their residence?
Mr. O'Connor or Chief Reese?
I think, Mr. Mayor, I think it goes to exactly what we just covered with the plan of walking it, notification in the newsletters, and I mean, the chief gave a very detailed.
Yeah, and we're gonna create a online survey, newsletters, and door to door.
Okay.
Last
Thank you.
question is, how soon would we be looking at trees in the ground? So how soon do we need to have the survey out and done? And at what point in December is kind of what I'm wondering. Okay, so we've got a little less than 30 days,
So so
3 weeks, 2 weeks. Okay,
So, Mr. Mayor, they would start on the 15th and we would have the proposed locations of the work. So we would already be ahead of them where they're going to be started with our activities with those particular residents and continue out from there.
and just one last clarifying question. Folks who say I don't want a tree, don't get a tree. Simple as that. Okay.
Did you say?
My question was residents who respond back saying they don't want a tree, don't get a tree.
correct. So what we'll do is we'll take that data. I'll give it to Mr. O'Connor. He will convey it to them, and then we'll make sure that. And I'm hoping that if they don't want a tree, a resident may say they want more trees on their right of way. We'll convey that to them as well, or other areas in the town.
Lastly, if a resident comes out at the time of a tree being planted and doesn't want a tree,
The county will have my telephone number, and if somebody intercepts them, have them call me, and we'll make that determination and allocate that tree elsewhere. So last minute withdrawals will definitely be accepted.
okay. And with that, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. We just want to make sure we have silence in the audience while the meeting's going on. Thank you for being here. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. We have Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Browson,
Yes.
Councilmember Little,
Yes.
Council President McDonald,
Yes.
Mayor Lilly.
Yes.
Motion passed, 7 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to resolution 89-23. And this is a resolution to accept a grant from the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention for body cameras, and to authorize combining Axon's 3 contracts into one. This is introduced by Councilmember Noble, Councilmember Hines, and Councilmember Kennedy II. Thank you, Ms. Abe. Have a good evening. I actually was talking with the treasurer about this particular resolution. I spoke to the chief earlier today. Due to the cost over the number of the years, we were wanting to get some more detail and make sure we understand and can plan effectively to pay for the program, as the Axon part of the program particularly. So I was actually going to recommend that we table this resolution until after the treasurer returns from his leave, and we can talk through the long-term impact on the cost. Councilmember Kennedy.
I thought the purpose of going with a company was so that way if somebody was on vacation, we wouldn't have a stop in the Treasury Department?
Well, I do believe we received some reports since he's been on vacation. But the person who works as his second in command is not online tonight. I'll ask if we can have one of them to come to the meeting in the future when he's not able to make it. Councilman Member Kennedy. Councilmember Noble?
Yes, for this resolution, can the chief provide some insight?
Chief Reese?
Thank you.
Absolutely. So this resolution is for the first portion is Mr. O'Connor in the direction of myself apply for a grant with the Governor's Office of Control and Prevention. We received a 50,000 non-matching grant in support of the body worn cameras program, which is mandatory for this for police officers in the state of Maryland. What's also the good opportunity is that we have to pay for it. It's mandatory for all of our officers. But these are contracts that the town has already agreed and signed. We'd had Axon for since 2018. And over the years, these are now that you see them all in one. As I stated last meeting, we go for grants each and every year. We've budgeted for example, we budgeted for our yearly payment this year already, which was 95,000. If this grant is approved, we would not have to pay that 50,000 of that, 50,000 of the 95,000 would come from the grant. And it will be done. So the great thing about it is with Axon, everything is warranty. So it's not, we own it, but it say if a device is actually broken or something like that, we call it a RMA. We simply give it to them and we get it back. Now, don't get me wrong, this grant from Axon, this is what almost every police department is going through. The increase of the cost, it's not the actual equipment, it's the storage. If you will, vendors know that these are mandatory items and we cannot control if they increase the price because they know that it's mandatory and we need it. It's so as a good business practice, they probably raise the price. But these are contracts that's already signed for the town. We have, if you will, we have body worn cameras already. We have in-car cameras already. We have tasers. We have signal sidearms already. So if I would give it for as far as the grant portion, I'm gonna let Mr. O'Connor give a little bit more insight on that.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, very briefly, if you look at the very first page, which is attached in your packet from the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention addressed to the chief, the letter was awarded on October 10th. We actually had 21 calendar days to get this signed or we lose the funding. We are already over that 21 days due to the processes that we had to follow. I've been able to get an extension, but we do need to get this approved or we lose the money. And that means that the full amount of the 95,000 will come out of the general fund versus 50,000 being paid for by the state. So we do need to get this approved and uploaded into the system to have full receipt of the award.
Councilmember Kennedy.
So just for clarification, so right now we have 3 different contracts. You want to basically have one contract instead of 3 separate ones. So we're currently already paying the 95,000
Yes.
annually.
Yes.
So this isn't adding more monies. This is actually accepting money so that way we can minimize the 95,000 that we already are currently.
Yes, sir. If you look in your budget before this grant even came out, it was already budgeted for 95,000 this year.
Okay. Thank you.
Council President McDonald.
So this grant, Chief Priest, would only, this $50,000 will only be for this one.
Correct. The government, they give a grant each year. Whatever each fiscal year, we always apply for it.
So then we go back to the 95,000 if we're not able to get it, is what we're saying.
Yes, if we don't accept this, we go back to the 95,000.
So I'm wondering if, I'm trying to find out, I guess, understand what the treasurer's thoughts are, for the amount that's on the books.
Yeah, one of the questions that we had was, so for the next year, it's 171. So like for November 2024, it's at 171. But you're saying, Chief Reese, that it's the increase in cost for storage that is like impacting the change over the next few FYs.
Yeah, so this would actually lock in the price. So if you will, these are multiple devices we're paying for that time frame. So 95 is our first one. It was already slated for 171. It's already slated for 186. If you was to add all the other contracts into this, now we only would have one payment. And this came about to merge it to make the audit simple for these devices that we have, instead of looking through 3 contracts, seeing when this warranty ends, that warranty ends. Now we have one, and everything's under the same warranty.
Excuse me. Thank you, Chief Reese. Yeah, my question was particularly around the change in cost over time. So if we increase or decrease staff, does that impact the cost any once the contract is agreed to?
No, sir. So these are items that we've already agreed to. So what I did was, it's 27 in total.
Okay.
These are 27 items. This is 27 body cameras, 27 tasers, 27 signal sidearms. That is in case that preparing for the future in case of an incident, to where is that if an officer breaks his body camera, that we are not waiting for them to send us another one. We already have one on in our equipment. And so we don't have 27 people. Now we are accounting for just in case something happens. We have extra on staff. Now, this will also allow that every member of the police department will have these items. And in the past, such as myself, the command staff, we didn't have body-worn cameras because we are not always out on the street. But the state of Maryland has changed that with the police accountability law, to where it's that every police officer has to have one. So obviously we have to have it and on our person now.
Thank you, Chief Reese. Council, did you have a question? Okay.
My question is, are we good?
Yes. Well, first we have to have a motion to adopt. All right, I moved the, well, did you want to offer the motion?
I move that we adopt resolution 8923.
A second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution 89-23. Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Councilman Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Browson,
Yes.
Councilmember Little,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
Council President McDonald,
Yes.
Mayor Lilly.
Yes.
Motion passed, 7 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we will have resolution 92-23. This is a fiscal year 2024 budget amendment. This is a resolution to amend and adjust the sums and amounts stated in emergency ordinance number 03-23 for the fiscal year annual budget beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2024 for temporary cleaning services for Town Hall and the Police Department. And this is introduced by myself, Mayor Lilly. I move that we adopt resolution 92-23.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution 92-23. Discussion.
Yeah, I have a question. This is a significant jump in the cleaning service amount. Can you give a little background on what's the huge jump? And
Absolutely.
also, while you're doing that is, only do weekdays? Do they do weekends, like the community room? If someone has an event on Saturday, do they come in and clean up with it if someone have an event on Sunday? So those type of questions.
Yes, so the adjustment here is because there was cleaning happening in the building due to COVID and in the other building. And to make sure that the buildings are sanitized, we had a person who was on staff in the prior FY who was serving as a custodian or a janitorial person, and that person is no longer with the town. And we also had a number of staff who there were a couple of vacancies in Public Works. So to answer the question about which days they clean, I will point to Mr. Belnavis. Do you know which days the cleanings were happening, sir?
The days of cleaning was 5 days per week.
So it was weekdays only?
Yes.
Okay. So just to be fully transparent here, this is to pay for the services that happen, but we are going to be suspending the cleaning service because, as you can see with the cost, it's not going to be sustainable for the entire FY. And so I want to make sure that we pay for the costs of what we have received services for thus far, and that we resume. Public Works will be cleaning the building, and we'll be handling that now that we've hired a couple of folks. We have, how many vacancies on Public Works do we have now? Have we filled the team up for crew members?
Yes, the team is full.
So we have a full team of crew members at this time, and discussed this with interim Town Administrator Chief Reese about returning to the Public Works, cleaning the buildings. And we received some quotes for entering into a contractor agreement, but the cost exceeds what the town has budgeted. So it would cost even more than what we're looking at. I think that it's in our best interest to use the staff we have on hand.
So what you're saying is this is to pay for services that have already been rendered?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Correct, to
Thank
get council's authorization to do so. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. We have Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yeah.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Browson,
Yes.
Councilmember Little,
Yes.
Council President McDonald,
Yes.
Mayor Lilly.
Yes.
Motion passed. 7 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. Next, we have annexation resolution number 04-2023. This is a municipal annexation resolution to approve the annexation of certain tax exempt real property located generally west of the present corporate limits of the town of Forest Heights, extending along, including and abutting the Capital Beltway, I-95/I-495, and including park and other land near and including the intersection of the Anacostia Freeway, I-295, and a segment thereof, and the Capital Beltway, extending to the District of Columbia line and near the fast land of the state of Virginia, the Woodrow Wilson Bridge area, Rosalie Island Peninsula, and the submerged lands of the Potomac River within the state of Maryland, comprising of approximately 6 parcels, parcels 1, 2, 11, 29, 30, and 31, and certain rights of way, waterways, and submerged lands containing 493.31 acres of land total, owned respectively by the United States of America, the state of Maryland, and the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, M-NCPPC, as depicted on tax map 95, grid D4, as parcels 29, 30, and 31, Tax District and account numbers 12-1362607, 12-1362631, and 12-1362797. And on tax map 104, grid D2, as parcels 1, 2, and 11. Tax District and account numbers 12-1331552, 12-1313790, and 12-3652682 into the corporate territory of the town of Forest Heights, and generally all matters relating to said annexation. I move that we adopt annexation resolution number 04-2023.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt annexation resolution number 04-2023. Discussion.
I have a question.
Councilmember Brownson.
Can you just put this in layman's term, where the annexation is?
I'm going to point to staff. I do know, but I'm going to use staff. Mr. O'Connor, can you give just a brief description of where this land is? I think it's going to be very easy to describe.
It is. The Potomac pushing up against National Harbor, short of the Virginia state line, short of the District of Columbia line, 295, the Beltway, and the right of ways that surround the Beltway and closing in on the Oxenville Road area.
Right off the water.
On the water, all across the bridge on the water.
Okay, thank you.
Am I accurately describing as if you're traveling toward the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, the water to the right of you as you go into DC and as you go into Virginia?
Water to the right and the left.
In the left, okay.
If you're headed south, right and left, and there's some islands on the side, those come into.
Okay.
I have one more question, and I know we talked about this previously, so this annexation, there won't be any any structure on this land, so therefore that's the reason why it's tax exempt?
It's tax exempt because it's owned by the government.
Okay.
And that's the reason for the tax exemption.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Noble.
Will annexing this cause any upkeep? Like if a mattress got on that island or something?
No, the best part about this is we are not taking over maintenance of the Beltway. It's right of ways, the Woodrow Wilson or the waterway. We're pulling it into the jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other discussion on annexation resolution 04-20? Oh, Councilmember Brownson.
The town will be responsible for like looking over it just to see, make sure nothing's.
Are we, we're live? Any other questions or comment on annexation resolution 04-2023? Mr. Best, if you're online, could you just, if there's any other issues or responsibilities or changes council should be aware of regarding this resolution?
No, nothing of significance. You know, this is similar to annexation 6 and 7 that occurred several years ago that went up to the Supreme Court of Maryland as a decision. This is all tax exempt property. None of the infrastructure found within this annexed area will be the responsibility of the towns to maintain. Police department will have jurisdiction over the roadways and be able to enforce the laws of the state and the town along the rights of way, all the way over to just short of the Virginia line. As you may know, the Potomac River is owned by the state of Maryland, not the state of Virginia. So this will take the town's corporate limits all the way up to almost the mean high water line on the Virginia side. There is a little gap there that the way that the District of Columbia line is configured that prevents the town from actually reaching all that. But it's, you know, it's a swath of land that includes the Beltway, where National View is located.
Yes,
And
but generally there's nothing of significance the council should be aware of.
well, there's a lot that council could be aware of, but I don't think there's any major concerns as to tax liability or infrastructure liability for the town that they need to be concerned about on this. It's basically an annexation of tax exempt land.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Best.
Yep.
Council President McDonald.
Mr. Best, hi there. So you just mentioned that there are several things that the town should be concerned about, but taxes is not one of them. So can you name a few of the items that we should perhaps be concerned about?
I don't think there's any cause for a great concern. I mean, you know, this is a large area of land. That means the roadways that are owned by other jurisdictions will be in the corporate limits of the town. Your police department will have jurisdiction, will be the primary police department over all these areas. The town does have mutual aid agreements with the other police departments, particularly the county and park and planning. So, yeah, and the town will have jurisdiction over the waterway, meaning that it is conceivable that someday the town could regulate the wharfing and pier permits for wharfs and pierage along the waterway. But there's really no financial impact on the town with this other than the impact it has on your police department. And that can be very limited because there's other police departments having jurisdiction within the area. So it's going to have a very minimal impact on the town. There's nothing to lose any sleep about, I don't think, or have any grave concerns about in doing this annexation. If somewhere down the road, it's not irreversible. If there was some reason where you found you didn't want to have this large swath of land and submerged waters in the corporate limits, you could de-annex it. But there will be some benefits, and Mr. O'Connor can explain those for having the Woodrow Wilson Bridge within the corporate limits. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And my follow-up was going to be to ask what would be the benefits, because we're annexing land and with very little benefit. So what's the benefit? Sorry.
For the jurisdiction, one is the increased service population. When it comes to applying for grant funding, the service population is counted in all federal grants, which increases the amount of money that you could possibly get on a grant. The other thing is it opens us up to the COG, Homeland Security funding for the police department, which can help subsidize things, not only police department, but the general government. The state of Maryland also has several grants that are open up with the service population and the roadways. It also opens up to the DNR waterway improvement grants, which can benefit the town greatly. Overall, it opens up many doors to the jurisdiction through funding sources up and DHCD as well. So these are things that we wouldn't normally get if we didn't, or we could get, but not in the large amount that we would readily be open to.
Any other questions, Council President?
So just one last thing. I guess I just want to be careful with us perhaps considering this, that we're not putting out from the town more than we need to, knowing that we're not going to be benefiting as much in the beginning.
Well, we're not really putting anything out. The Maryland State Police are primary on the Beltway. The Forest Heights Police Department is not primary. That's not going to change. I think the chief can agree with that. Secondary on the Beltway would be the Prince George's County Police, and then from there, Maryland National Capital Park and Planning is still primary. U.S. Park Police is still primary on 295, and the Forest Heights Police Department is secondary on those roadways. So prior to any of the resources from the town, the resources from those jurisdictions would have to have been exhausted and or requested directly from one of those agencies, which happens right now, actually. I think there's more than several instances the chief may be able to go into where mutual aid is provided. Other than that, those would be the resources and that would have to be done. But realistically, at this point, you're not gonna see a drain on police services. You're not gonna see anything happening within the regular town. Department of Public Works isn't gonna have to go out there and maintain any of the roadways. So what we would be seeing in the beginning is the ability for me to get traffic counts, vehicle counts, people counts, and find the service populations and increase our grant funding exponentially, which would just be a straight benefit in the first year.
And the fact that we can de-annex it at any given time is, I guess, that's what Mr. Best just said, right?
Yes, it hasn't been done by a municipality in the state of Maryland. There would probably be a first, but if the mayor and council decided that, hey, this just isn't for us, as Mr. Best said, you could de-annex, but.
Yeah, and let me add, de-annexation has occurred. I think once or twice in the history of Maryland. So it would require a charter amendment, and it wouldn't be a difficult thing you've had to do. But I'd also like to point out when you all did annexation area 6 and 7 years ago, part of that annexation included Oxon Hill Road, which was the most prolific speed camera site in all of Prince George's County. And so that jurisdiction over those speed cameras on Oxon Hill Road, a state highway, came into the town at that time. And there will be, since most of the roadways or all the roadways in this proposed area of annexation are under the jurisdiction of other entities, there won't be a chance for the town to deploy speed cameras there unless it's a state highway. And there may be red light cameras here and there that the town could use if that was necessary, but that would be a source of income as well.
Thank you, Mr. Best.
Sure.
Did you have a question? Councilmember Kennedy?
You mentioned, did you say service population?
Yes.
So that just means larger area of land means we would potentially service more people that would travel through it?
Yeah, we have the potential to service more people that would travel through it.
Okay.
Just like now,
Okay. I don't want to see a resolution asking for a speedboat. Unless it's fully funded by a grant.
that resolution will come from me.
Are there any other questions or any other discussion on annexation resolution 04-2023? Okay, hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
Councilmember Browson,
Yes.
Councilmember Little,
Yes.
Council President McDonald,
Yes.
Mayor Lilly.
Yes,
Motion passed, 7 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. At this time, we will have our second public period of the evening. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak at this time? If so, please come forward and give your name, and you'll have 2 minutes to provide comment. Okay, it doesn't look like we have anyone in the gallery at this time. Is there anyone online who wishes to speak during the second public period for this evening? Okay, second public period for this evening is now closed. Next, we will have council member and mayor's reports. We'll begin with Ward 1. Council President McDonald.
Yes, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the town of Forest Heights residents. Good to see you all. Please keep coming back to our meetings. It's good to see you all.
Use my mic. Use my mic. Mute yours.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I apologize.
Oh, no, we had two on that.
No. Can you hear me now? Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Town of Forest Heights residents, for being here. And I only have one thing to share, and that is the Sustainable Forest Heights Sustainable Maryland program. I have 3 volunteers. I need at least 5 so that we can move forward with establishing Sustainable Maryland here in the town of Forest Heights. There are many benefits. The Sustainable Maryland towns and cities implement practices that leads to cost savings in energy, water, and trash bills. The program helps communities improve efficiency, cut waste, and stimulate their local economy. So I am asking for a few more volunteers to join me so that we can not only qualify, but also become certified in the town of Forest Heights. So let me know if you're interested. I would appreciate it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President McDonald. Councilmember Little.
Good evening. It's good seeing all your faces tonight, and I have no reports. Thank you.
All right, next we'll move to Ward 2. Councilmember Kennedy.
It is good to see more faces in the audience. Hopefully at some point in the near future, this place will be thriving with faces every meeting. As the holidays approach, I just want everybody to remember your neighbors who may or may not be as fortunate as you are. We are a community, a town, regardless of what side you live on, what street you live on. Also, as the holiday, the next holiday season. So we all are going to be out shopping Black Friday, before Black Friday, after Black Friday. Just keep in mind that whatever you purchase, try and keep it out of sight. So that way you don't have somebody that is tempted to either break in your vehicle or steal your vehicle for the gifts that you choose to purchase. So stay safe and hope to see all of y'all again soon.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy. Councilmember Brownson.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for coming out. It's good to see you all. I just have one thing I want to mention. On Monday, November the 20th, there's going to be an event here in the community room. It's going to be a senior spa day for seniors that live in the town of Forest Heights. So come out. We're looking for the 65 plus, but if you're 64 and a little over, a little under, or, so come out. We expecting to have a good time, a nice showing. There's gonna be free haircuts, free manicure, free makeup demonstrations, a lunch, a gift bag, and resource information for everyone. So come out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Brownson. I know you're happy you went second today too, right?
Yes.
Next we'll go to Ward 3. I'm gonna see who wants to go first. I'm gonna find out. Councilmember Hines.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out, and thank you for that delicious meal. I really appreciate it again. Yes. My report is going to be a little bit lengthy. No, okay. What I do want to say is that we are starting back with our decoration, our contest for, the houses, the contest that we have. This will be our third annual decoration. And if you want to enter your house, all the information is going to go out on the electronic sign, through the newsletter, and flyers. So please participate, because we'd love to see your homes in every way. Next, I want to say that I am looking for Forest Heights songbirds, and I know we have some out there. I have one right here on the council president. So thank you. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, we're going to be coming around to all the houses that are decorated. I'm trying to get my mayor to be a part of it. But yes, yeah. So if you want to participate, please, let me know. You can contact the town, or I'll get a sign up sheet before you leave. And I just want to talk about the tree lighting, that's going to be coming up on December 2nd, where we come out to the gathering place across the street. And yeah, we're going to come out and light the tree up and, bring, Christmas, the holiday season. So thank you again for coming out. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilmember Hines. I don't like to back down from a challenge. So I'll take you up on the challenge, and I like walking the town. So I'm down. I'm definitely down. No, the songbirds. The songbirds. I don't mind. I'm up for it. Challenge accepted. Okay. Let's see how much of the council will get. Okay. All right, Council Member Noble.
Yes, I have a list here. And what I bring, good evening, everyone. Concerns from some of the residents and some information as well. Some residents are concerned about all the debris on 210 when they're leaving their homes, and mattresses are out. And recently, one mattress was at the side, but then it got into the lane. So we have to be careful of that. And also the other concerns are the out-of-state tags. So I hope that we can get a plan in place, because I'll be saying this at every meeting, out-of-state tags. Thank you, community. On the stop sign monitor that's now at Mohican and Seneca, some residents suggested, and I don't know, I know it's movable, but if we could move it outside of where there's no left turn at Henry's that goes onto the highway, just to monitor, because people aren't stopping and it's no left turn. So a lot of things. So that's just a update from resident. Electronic board. We love the messages, but it's so much that no one gets a chance to read it all at one stop. So if maybe we could use less words and just, now it was something up there I mean, it's just the whole paragraph. So just, what is it? Boom, contact the town. Oh, if you want to rent a hall, having an event, contact whatever. Just cut it short on some of, and keeping it current with the information. Look, yeah, I like to bring some good news. Oh, that was the good news. Councilman, our county council, Ed Burrows has made available to all residents in District 8 free tuition. Free tuition, starting with the spring 2024. You may have to pay for books. Well, you will have to pay for books. It's tuition that's free. So I think that's a positive. And the other,
Free tuition any place?
no, at Prince George's Community College.
I wanted
I'm
you to
sorry.
say that.
Oh, I didn't say that.
No.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, Prince George's Community College. So 2 million has been put aside for the residents in District 8, and that means Forest Heights residents as well, all ages. So, and even for certification, training, things like that. So now's the time. If you want to go back, you better get on there and register now. So I had another one, but I'm going to keep it. Okay, thank you. Last thing, happy Thanksgiving.
Just a quick question. Who takes care of the signs and the information that's put on them? Yes. Okay, who's supposed to?
It's the administrative assistant.
So it's a administrative task, and we're taking notes, and we'll make the adjustment on the signboards.
Okay, because that is another thing. One of the things Councilwoman Noble mentioned, the information is sometimes very stale. We can have something up there a week later that's already passed. So we do need to do a better job at utilizing those billboards for current and future functions.
Yeah, duly noted. I think our interim town administrator is going to pass the word down and make sure we get a process in place where we can evaluate what's there and make sure it's current and readable. Council President McDonald.
Follow up to a request for lighting.
Well, just one moment. We'll finish the reports, but we're going to do a new business. I think that's a great thing to bring up there to check in with any outstanding items we have. No problem, Council President. So Ward 3 is done. Okay. All right. Happy early holiday to everyone that's here in the audience tonight. It's very good to see all of your faces. Council has said it. We're very happy to see you, to spend time talking with you, and to dine with you. Wishing everyone a happy holiday, however you celebrate in the next week, Thanksgiving or otherwise. And we are happy about Senior Spa Day that's coming up. I also wanted to let the audience and folks at home know that Abundant Life Ministries, which is located right on Livingston Road, next to the Future Police Station and the 7-Eleven, will be having a Thanksgiving meal on Thanksgiving Day, on Thursday, November the 23rd. It's going to run from 11 until 2 p.m. It is something that you need to register for, however. So do we have a phone number for Abundant Life Ministries we can give out? You have it? It's in the newsletter. If you received your newsletter, it would be there as well. Okay. We don't have it at the time being, but if you are interested, Abundant Life Ministries on Thursday, November the 23rd, 11 to 2. We do have a phone number. Okay. You can, I'll let you say it.
The number is 301-839-7993.
One more time for posterity.
301-839-7993. Bishop Chapman, thank you.
Very good. And with that, we will move on to new business. Councilmember Hines.
Yes, I don't know if this is, I mean, I would like to put a question or just ask. Okay, first I want to ask, you know, my husband had told you guys, Mr. Hines had come to the podium and said about the turkeys. I would like to give up some of my money, my council, whatever. And I would like to, you know, put together some turkeys or some gift baskets to give to, you know, the community that I know, you know, look forward to these baskets that we give out. And so I'm willing to give it up. And I just wanted to bring this to the council and to the mayor and let you know that I want to do this. And so I didn't know if it was a protocol, if I needed to, you know, just, but yeah, that's what I'd like to do. And if any other council would like to join me, you know, that's fine, but I'm going to do it. And so I just would like to get some response from you guys to know maybe what I can put in the basket other than the turkey. But I would really like to help out some families. Now, second, the one thing that I would like to ask, Mayor, I don't know if this was new business, but Marcus Jones, when was his last day? Can I just ask that question?
It hasn't come up yet. It would be November the 30th.
Okay. And then when he leaves, where does he go? I'm sorry. I just know that he put this together, what is in the back, and it was a beautiful thing. And for us to lose him is going to be a travesty. And I want to let you know that I'm gonna fight for him. Okay. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate Mr. Jones very much for putting together the spread and what he's added to the town. So thank you, Mr. Jones. Well, on that topic, I don't want to get too deep into details, but I think that there are possible ways where he can continue to help us if he would like to, and we welcome that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kennedy.
So
Councilmember Kennedy.
was that as a volunteer or as a employment?
Oh.
Because that the way that
Came
the
up.
question was posed, it was answered, but that
Well,
left the gray area for me. So
I'll just
that's
say
the
this.
clarification.
There's no decision that's been made, but we're gonna find a way for Mr. Jones to continue working with us if he would like to do so. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm piggybacking on the first portion of what Councilwoman Hines asked about.
Sure.
And I'm gonna unfortunately pass this to the interim town administrator. We're gonna see how many balls you can juggle, okay? So yes, each council person does have a budgeted line item. I know in the past, I believe several of us donated towards something. I just can't remember.
Last year.
Okay, so if you can let us know what dollar amounts I guess are left in our line items, I have no problem giving up some monies also. But the question I have is this for Thanksgiving or Christmas or both or New Year's also? It's technically not going yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
You after talking to Mr. O'Connor, you still do have some. I know last year we did do the turkey giveaway with the ARPA funds. I can confer with Mr. O'Connor to see if there may be a small amount that may be dedicated for this. I include that in your report, Councilman Kennedy.
I also know I think in the past, we've had a partner that helped with donating turkeys. Isn't that correct? Was it J&L Towing?
Yes, they did donate. But we can do that too. So we can make it yes, a collaborative effort. So I will see what you have in you guys' budget, see with Mr. O'Connor
light pole that's supposed to have a light, but it's not on.
Okay, so the light, it needs a light bulb replacement.
So it
Yeah.
physically has the light. Okay.
Yes, it has a light pole.
Okay.
Council member.
So there is physically a light up there.
Yes, sir. It's
Thank
just out.
Okay, thank you.
One moment, Council Member Noble. I just wanted to ask about, are you asking about Cree Drive? Okay.
I'm on the light.
I'm on the light too, but I was gonna ask about Cree Drive. Because a resident reached out, I had them to use the citizen portal to report that there was a light outage at the intersection of Sachem and Cree Drive. It's been a problem area, and I'm also wondering if it's going to be a long-term outage if we have a temporary solution for providing light there, since it's an area that has been plagued by nefarious activity at times.
If there is a light out, now we did receive 2 requests for that intersection at Sachem and Cree Drive. One was for a stop sign for people that could not see. Public Works did receive the request. We are thinking about some ways that we can improve that, maybe put a stop sign, and so people will have to stop and observe before they move forward. And also other areas may put a type of mirror so they can see around the corner. Now, as far as the light, it's the same process. Obviously, Pepco controls the lights. We have to put in a request and they come out and service them we provide them. We do want to encourage our residents, if they do see a light out, if they can, to better locate them. There's a pole number, so there's numbers at the bottom. If they can provide that to us, just to make sure that we're looking at the right light, or so the police obviously would have to come out there at night because Public Works is gone. We are verified that light is out and report it to them. Now, we have reported over 100 lights out through the town, and they've been coming out, but it is a slow process.
Thank you, Chief Reese. Councilmember Noble.
I requested a Pepco service for a light out on Seneca, probably now with 30 days ago, and the residents over 60 days. And I thought that the town had a direct contact with someone at Pepco.
Not in street lights, but we do have a contact. Normally, there is a portal that we normally call and just report the lights, and then they take it in and they put it in their queue for service. But as I said, we can follow up with Pepco for the outages.
If we get situations where we have streetlights that have been out more than the 45 days, then we can talk about finding someone whose bell can be rang or to deal with it, because it's yes, obviously it's Councilmember Noble said whose light can be turned on, but it's obviously a systematic thing where we can take it up another level to get a response. I'm happy to do that. Councilmember Kennedy.
I don't know who would be able to answer this question. We've been talking about having all the streetlights retrofitted to LEDs. So what is the status on that?
During that time, the town, in the front of this parking lot, Pepco did provide a example of lighting that they could provide throughout the rest of the town. We didn't follow up on it, but I will make sure that happens. The lights that you see in the residential, those are older bulbs. They're not LED, and obviously they take a little bit longer. Some of those are motion, so like when you pass it, they're turned on, and when there's nothing there, it'll turn off. But I'll make sure.
Yeah, because aren't the ones in the parking lot and literally around the corner, the ones that are on that one bill, aren't all of those retrofitted with the LEDs now or not?
Yes, those are
Okay.
retro, those
So-
are the examples that the Pepco asked us to pick, if we wanted to put those in other portions of the town.
Okay, so I think ideally we chose that because all of them were on one bill. That way we can do a true cost analysis of how much money we saved when they switched from the mercury vapor to the high pressure sodium to
Yeah.
now the LEDs.
Yes.
So, okay, thank you.
Any other new business this evening?
I said one quick question.
Council
We
President?
don't pay for LED though, right? Once they're installed, we don't pay for LED.
Electricity.
I may be able to answer that. I'm on the calls with the teams meetings with Pepco. And we're not slated for quite some time to have all our lights switched out to LED. But we do pay for the electricity. So they're trying to schedule all the municipalities to switch out all the street lights. So as soon as there's a update on the timeline, I'll provide it to the town administrator.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Chief and Mr. O'Connor. Chief Reese?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, the staff just wanted me to emphasize that we do have a Public Works portal where you can put in service requests, but they are asking for residents so they can get back to them to make sure they include a phone number or email, because they're finding instances where people are reporting it, but we can't get back to them to provide an update. So we want to make sure that you at least provide a phone number or email so that we can conduct the follow-up.
Can we, does the portal allow us to make one of those fields mandatory?
Absolutely, we can make that, yes.
So that way we require at least a phone number, then that way it'll ask you to do that before you submit. I think that might be the easiest way to approach that. Thank you for raising that concern. And the link to the Public Works and Code Compliance portal is actually on the website now as well. So residents looking to file a complaint or to alert Public Works to an issue can go to the website and do that with the click of a button. We also have the option for you to call in if you're not someone that uses the web and would not like to. You can call and submit a complaint or issue a report, and you can get a report number that helps you to track progress on that item as well. Was there something else, Council President? Or a compliment when something gets done well or exceeds your expectation. Those are appreciated as well. Okay, there's a couple other items of new business. For each council member, we have a rental property license fee list. It gives a list of what some other municipalities in the county charge for licensing of rental properties. And I just want to ask, we don't have our rate here. What is the rate for sites just so we can compare?
$75.
$75.
Per year.
We are not at the bottom. There's two that are less than us, but the majority are, there's $40 and $30. But so that's an annual fee, yes. Councilmember Noble.
Yes, Councilwoman Brownson has brought this up several times, so I'll be repeating this a lot too. On the tax rate for the rental properties, we need to have the treasurer figure out what should we increase the tax rate for rental properties, and that will increase the income as well. So, because this is a an annual fee, but the tax rate, if it's properly adjusted, it may offset some of our liabilities.
I have I have a question on that. So, just a logistical question. If a property is rented for like a portion of the year, or say for they rent the property for 6 months and then it's converted back and the person who owns the property lives in it and it's not a rental property anymore, how does that work with the tax rate? And maybe we don't. We'll have to ask this.
Well, I know in the District of Columbia,
Yeah, this is a
you have
good,
to request it.
okay.
You have to notify them that you're moving back in, and then the rate is adjusted.
I think Attorney Best had addressed that in an email that he sent this morning.
Okay,
About a rental property that's strictly rental property and a rental property where the owner lives in the property.
okay.
So those are two different categories under the rental property tax code.
Okay.
So we have to decide which one that we want to increase the taxes on, because some rental properties, the owner lives in the property. So we have to decide, make a distinction there. And then it gets complicated when, like you said, a person lives in a rental property, then turns it back to just a real property where it's not a rental property anymore. So it makes it confusing to keep track of for the code enforcer or the, so we have to make some decisions there. Yeah, I know, but
I think though, if I change it, my tax rate is now changed to rental, so it's higher. So if I move
Well,
back in, believe me, I'm gonna let you know.
Well,
And then it goes back.
not in Forest Heights, because we never changed the tax rate when we did the our budget. Our property tax for real property and the rental property tax are the same.
Well, I'm saying going forward,
Right,
that's why
yeah.
I'm saying now, we need to be prepared when it's time to change the tax rate next year, that it's in there so we can budget accordingly for that to come into.
Yeah, I think Attorney Best said it has to be done and discussed starting January 1st through March or something like that. So we do need to make some decisions on that.
Okay. Council President McDonald.
So I guess my question would be, does it make a difference when it's owner occupied? So not moving in and out, but when it's owner occupied.
When it's owner occupied, you have the rate, the regular rate. So the rental rate will be higher because it's more or less an investment property. So
Exactly.
you're making money.
Mhm.
Well, sometimes.
So if it's owner occupied and you have other individuals in the property, that's what I'm saying.
That's the $75 one, right? That's the one they pay $75.
That is the
for.
$75.
Yes.
So the way it stands, $75 rate is what anyone pays if they have a rental property.
If they have a rental.
If they have
in
a
their
rental property,
Not
they have
only
a rental in their property.
Right, yeah,
If they're renting a portion of their primary residence.
yeah. Right,
No, that's not correct.
okay. What's that?
$75 is the way that it's written, $75. It doesn't matter if they're renting the whole property or if they're renting a portion of the property, they pay the same. The only time that it's different and the other portion won't come to us is if it's a short-term rental or Airbnb, they have to follow the Prince George's County guidelines. So they have to go through those guidelines, get that license from Prince George's County, as well as get one from the town, which is still only $75.
So you're saying if I have a rental property, I'm only paying $75 to the town?
Absolutely.
Oh, my God.
Now, that has nothing to do with the taxes that's being paid. That's just the price for the license.
Okay,
But we do need to institute a tax for Airbnb because I know there's at least one, but because of the way things were done prior to, I'm still going through with some of the licenses that were done incorrectly and determining what type of rentals these properties are.
okay.
Council Member Kennedy.
I'm glad you spoke up because these questions are going to be directed towards you now because you are the one to answer them. As of right now, since you are the code enforcement officer, how many types of properties are there now?
There should be only 3, either one where the entire property is being rented or a portion of the property is being rented and the owner lives in another part of the property. There are no rooming houses. That's not permitted. And the other one would be the short-term rentals or Airbnbs, which are permitted, but they also have to follow Prince George's County guidelines.
Okay, but specifically, of course, you have residential, you have rental, and then you also have, I guess, what you list as vacant.
Yes, yes.
Correct, but as it states right now, or as it stands right now, a rental property, well, all of these properties are paying taxes, which of course are probably more than we would want them to be. But correct me if I'm wrong, but the vacant property is actually getting charged more than a rental property, which is actually making money.
That is correct.
Okay, so we need to revisit these fees because that's ridiculous if a property that's vacant is paying more than a property that's making money.
Not only that, but the vacant properties also, if it's a situation where the property needs to be boarded, there's an additional fee for that also.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
So who would be the person that will initiate these fees and write this resolution or get this process going?
Well, I think if council can decide where they'd like to see the rates go, and we can work with our attorney to write or propose changes. It's also a potential item that could be discussed in committee and finance committee
Okay.
in the next round of finance or next round of committee meetings.
That's that's January. But it seems like the work needs to get started before then.
Well, we've got some information here about at least one of the rates. I think we may need to see the other fees side by side in a chart we can compare, like the vacant fee and the short-term fee. I'm assuming Mr. Green is the same, right? It's just $75 for the short-term rental, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Plus whatever the addition is that Prince George's County charges.
Got it. Okay. Okay. All right. Last item of new business, I believe, is there was a collection of meeting times for other municipalities and localities. And so we provided what they are. We know what our times are for meetings, and we have given each council member a worksheet, which allows you to vote if you would like to propose a change to the time. You can cast your ballot and you can return it to the town clerk. I do want to point out that if after the vote, we determine that body would like to propose a change, it does require an ordinance that has to be introduced before council and considered and voted on. Councilmember Kennedy.
So I know the Wednesday meeting is in the charter. Is there a time associated with that?
Yes, 8 o'clock.
It actually says in the charter, 8 o'clock. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I said charter amendment, my apologies. I said ordinance, but there's another change we were discussing this in ordinance. I can't remember what that is right now. It's something else. I know what it is. It's about the pay. That's what it was. Okay, so yes, this will require a charter amendment if council expresses desire in changing the time. Is there any other new business at this time?
Is this anonymous?
Yes, you can give it to the town clerk. Yes. If there's no other new business, the time is now 10:15 and this meeting is adjourned.